Sorry about that, yes. Makes a difference if we do
Push your
that.
button there on the front, top, right there, in the, right where you're, there, that's it.
Yeah, it is, okay. Now
Thank you,
we're,
Jamie.
now we're all live.
Do we gotta start over?
Yeah, I know.
I forgot what I said.
Yeah, just speak up loud. Okay, move forward. Dr. Clifford, would you like to address the board in any way or speak of anything?
No, sir. I have patients this morning, so I won't delay your meeting further.
Thank you very much. Okay, then we'll move on with Lana's report.
Thank you, gentlemen, and I will remove my mask just to make sure you can hear me, okay? Prospect 321, Project Darwin, as it is affectionately named by the Department of Commerce. This was an RFI received through the Department of Commerce. We are submitting information. It's due this Friday, and we're submitting that information to them. This is a large project with some pretty large requirements, but we feel that we've located a parcel that that would meet their needs, so we're going to move forward.
How big piece of real estate does this require?
400 acres.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Project Sequel, again, this was a Department of Commerce request for proposals. We submitted multiple sites in Finney County that would work for them, and Department of Commerce anticipates that they will have follow-up pretty shortly. Prospect 221-2, this is a project where the client contacted us directly, targeting sites within the city. They were not interested in county sites for a couple of reasons. Most importantly was water service and ensuring that they would have what they needed for their fire loop. So they specifically asked for sites within the city that would be city water served. We have submitted 3 workable sites to them and followed up with them earlier this week to see if there are any questions or additional information we can provide to them. Prospect 221-1, Project Accelerate, Department of Commerce RFP. This project has a significant truck traffic associated with it, so the sites we suggested to them are sites outside of the development envelope in an effort to keep that traffic away from the already highly trafficked area directly around both cities. Prospect 1120. This is a prospect that requested some labor market information, training accessibility, state tax information, potential sites. We've submitted all of that to them and haven't gotten any follow-up questions in a while now. Prospect 1020, Project Aberdeen. We did host the site consultants for this company back in October and showed them sites and have provided some follow-up information to them as well. Project Green River is a couple of local agricultural entities that we're working with on creating a project that they would be able to share and would incorporate both manufacturing and logistics. And we continue to work with this project to find the best location for them and assist them with their rail requirements. Prospect 120, Project Proxima. This again was the Department of Commerce, came through the international team at the Department of Commerce. We have submitted additional information to them. We know that they are still reviewing sites, and Kansas is still in the mix at this time. 516.3, Value-Added Agriculture. We continue to work on that project. It's one that kind of has different moving parts and pieces, and the more research we do, the more opportunities we find to work together with some of our agricultural producers. So we'll continue to pursue that. Housing Project 3-21, we've assisted a developer with purchasing a 40-acre parcel. And we've done the initial layout for them so that they could submit that. They are looking to federal programming for funding on this project, and so they had us design it to those specifications. So as of last week, we had some additional information requested from us to help them submit for the federal financing. We sent all of that information to them, and by the end of day on Friday, including support letters from many agencies within the community. So I'm very pleased with everybody's ability to quickly react and work together, and real excited about it. The preliminary layouts, we've included community gardens, commercial space, and a community center that could also house a childcare facility. So with 300 plus units in the development, we know that anytime we're doing that large of a development, we're going to create additional need and demand for childcare. So we want to make sure that we reserve space for it, if nothing else.
Well,
Yes, sir.
when you submit that application, you say you have support letters. Do we get that from our statewide legislators, mayor, whatever, or from the corporate entities in town?
These are from the local service agencies. For this particular federal funding, it's very important that you show that the community will welcome the housing and will work with that neighborhood to make sure that they get all of the services needed. One of the challenges that we're having now, obviously, as we've talked about before, with the fact that we're having to push housing further and further out of the core of the community, is that our commercial can't necessarily keep up with that, and we're not necessarily close to services, medical services, doctor's offices, grocery stores, that type of thing. So when we look at a proposal like this, we have to ensure that we're building commercial that allows them access to their basic needs within close proximity, as well as making sure that we've got service providers who will be willing to go into the neighborhood as needed to make sure that all of the services they would need would be available to them.
Okay.
What about the schooling at that point?
I'm sorry?
What about the schooling at that point? Do they know about things like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, this week, I'm meeting with individual school board members for USD 457 to go through additional projects and make sure they're fully aware of the potential growth. We always ensure, and we've done for years, ensure that we reserve space for school buildings and give the school district the first option in these housing developments to say, no, we've got this covered with other buildings, or yes, we want to continue to reserve that space and make sure that we have place for a new school should it become necessary. So we always give them the opportunity to weigh in on that.
So are you saying a parcel of land would be set aside for maybe the school district?
Right.
For
Right.
future buildings that they need?
We give them first option with that. So we always make sure the housing developer knows up front that he or she may be asked to parcel off a section of it and make that available to the school district. So far, we've not had any where the school has exercised that, simply because we've been in positions where we could shift schools around enough to make it work. However, now that we're looking at a couple of large, higher density housing developments, we believe that there's a very good chance that the school will actually take advantage of that opportunity to hold space for them. Yeah. Great questions, thank you. Housing Project 820, we continue to work forward on this one. This one, if you remember, we initially called it Chugwater. It is now named as a subdivision, as Lost River Subdivision. They've gone through their first phase of Planning Commission, and fortunately, we are very fortunate to have Steve available to go and be in those meetings and help to represent the project and make sure that we're available to answer questions. Housing Project 220, this is again one that we were contacted by a developer to lay out, and we were able to lay out with more than 300 housing units.
When you say they've been through the first phase of planning development or planning commission, what basically where does that get them?
Well, they had to do a rezone. The parcel,
Right.
entire 67-acre parcel was zoned as agriculture.
Right.
And they're breaking it up into phases. Obviously, they're utilizing the Rural Housing Incentive District tool, which requires, obviously, the faster you can construct and get properties on the tax rolls, the better. So we have broken the project down into multiple phases with them. The part that's gone before them now has been the site plan on the original piece, the first piece that they'll do, phase 1, which is a street and cul-de-sac directly behind to the north of Pioneer. Very similar housing. It'll be, higher dollar houses in that first phase. And then from there, we get into, reducing the lot sizes and the size of the house, obviously. So it goes up in density as we go towards the north in that project.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just along that line, is there any risk of the planning commission in their wisdom deciding, no, we shouldn't have that kind of high density, let's keep it as agricultural?
Yeah, they certainly have the opportunity to weigh in on that, so long as the development is meeting the requirements of whatever residential district they've rezoned to. That's typically not a challenge. Obviously, as we're seeing these higher density developments come in, those are sometimes a challenge for the public to accept. They're different than what we have. But we're in a position where we just can't not capitalize on every acre that we develop. So it's a little more challenging out here in western Kansas because we have a lot of land, and so everybody thinks we should just continue to build single family, ranch style, the same thing we've always built. Unfortunately, that doesn't meet the need of the residents who would choose to move to our community, nor does it make the best use, quite frankly, of our natural resources. And even though we have a lot of land, land is a natural resource, and it is finite, and we have to ensure that we're not creeping into our agricultural areas when it's not necessary. So the more we can do to do the higher density, the more responsible we really are being. We're also increasing efficiencies for the utilities and all of that when we make that decision. And quite frankly, increasing the value of that property by creating multiple housing units in one space. So we think that, we think it's important always that we're represented at the Planning Commission meeting. I think they need to know where we're coming from and why. We know that they hear from members of the public who don't maybe understand why the community is looking this direction. So we feel it's always important to be there and speak on behalf of the development and why we feel comfortable supporting it. But, ultimately, Planning Commission can be overridden if it becomes a challenge. We certainly hope that doesn't have to occur. We want them to understand why we're looking at what we're looking at and believe that if they know that we have the best interest of the community at heart, they'll continue to work with us to grow the community.
All right, thank you.
Well, and even though, like you say, we've got a lot of land out here, that land that's within that bypass corridor that's developable and possibly could be used for those kind of things is getting somewhat limited. So
Very
you
limited.
have to pick and choose where you can go and what you can do. So
And there are definitely some opportunities to build in that envelope to the west between Garden City and Holcomb, but it does require pretty significant, infrastructure investment by the county. And so we're kind of left, exactly as you said, Tom, we're kind of left with a situation where we're going to run out of that land that's already within the bypass, and we'll have to continue to find ways to solve how we develop additional housing.
Okay.
When John Ellerman was here, he was working on housing development for the county, out in the rural area.
He was working with us,
Yeah.
not on housing development, but on the infrastructure needed to support
Support the-
housing development,
Gotcha.
yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So, yeah, we do have a plan. The biggest challenge is wastewater management.
Yeah.
We have, Wheatland Electric serves out there, so we have electrical infrastructure, we have water infrastructure through Rural Water District. What we don't have, unfortunately, is a wastewater solution.
Gotcha.
We have that solution designed, and we have a general idea of what that might cost.
Okay.
But it's a matter of the county, choosing to invest in something like this. That's way outside of the county's comfort zone to provide a wastewater service. So if they go along with it, that's great, and it does open up significant additional opportunities for us, not just in housing, but also in industrial projects. It's just a matter of getting them to that point to feel comfortable to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Certified site development, we are working with some utilities on certifying a couple of parcels that we've identified. And the one site, we've already had the engineered drawings of rail and such put into it. The other site we're working on and hope that we'll be able to have meetings next week with all of the partners to get everybody on board with actually certifying these sites. The Department of Commerce has opted to require that communities have certified sites and real estate available on what they call the LOIS system, which is Location One Information System. So it is a public website that allows site selectors and developers to look into communities where they may have an interest and find what parcels may be available. We're somewhat challenged by this because in a word, we already know what sites we have available, what sites will work for projects. However, if we're forced to list those publicly, the price will go up for those, who would be looking into the community. So we have some challenges with that, but we feel by certifying a couple of sites, it does give us at least some opportunity to see how that would work and to gauge just how much the price goes up when we invest in phase one environmentals and all of those types of things on those properties. So we'll see how it goes. We have been extremely busy. A lot of good meetings. Things have really ramped up. We anticipated that we would see a significant amount of projects come our way once COVID was settling down throughout the country, and we were right. So we continue to field calls and provide information. And again, we've participated in several meetings to help move projects forward. I am meeting, as I said earlier to Ron's question, I am meeting with individuals from the USD 457 board. I offered that to all of our public entity CEOs that I would be happy to meet with their elected officials, either one-on-one or whatever we have to do to stay under their limits for quorum. So 457 scheduled 3 meetings for this week that will allow us to meet with all of their board members and give them information on where we are right now with projects. So I've met with one Holcomb City Councilman, and he was certainly hoping he could encourage some others. Well, 2 if we count Ron, which we have to count Ron. So hopefully they'll reach out. Matt is doing his updates with his commissioners as an off week, if you will, discussion. So we'll continue to offer that and be available should they want us to come in and meet with them. And that is really all I have for you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. I should tell you we do have the Deputy Secretary of Commerce coming to town today, as well as the State Director for the regional project managers for the Department of Commerce. And they're coming in at noon today. We'll meet them out at the airport, give them a quick update on the airport project, then provide them a tour. I'll drive them around to all of the projects that we've done over the last several years, and then bring them back to our office for additional discussion about many of the items that we're working on, so they have a really good feel for our community and what our priorities are right now. So I'll be doing that from noon to 5 today.
All right, very good.
Okay, questions? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Nicole,
Good morning.
Morning.
good morning.
For you guys' reference, I included my report and Cottrell's report and Shannon's are all in your packets, just for you guys' reference. Instead of handing them out individually, I actually put them in the packet this time. I know, right? We got some exciting news from the college. This is a program they have been working on for a couple years, the automotive program at the college, and Ryan Grubbs has worked his tail off on trying to get this going and done a lot of outreach to some area schools. And they finally got the go-ahead that this next fall semester, they are going to be offering the dual credit classes to Garden City High School students, Holcomb High School students, and Deerfield High School students. These will be offered free of charge for these kids to come and take them. It will get them a certification by the time they get out of high school, and also get them well on their way to, if they choose to go into the automotive program at the college, they'll be well on their way to getting that additional certification as well. All of the classes will be conducted here in town at Garden City High School. It's something, like I said, they've been working on this for a couple years, back and forth, trying to figure out the logistics of it, and they've got it done. So I think it's just another partnership that we can tout as really listening to the kids and the students and the industry of what is needed in the community, and they made it happen. This advisory group at the college, I've said it in a couple of their meetings, they are very involved with the automotive program. All of the major dealerships in town are represented, plus additional, some of the used car dealerships, as well as plenty of mechanic shops. There's shops from Syracuse on it. I mean, these guys are really making the effort, and they're traveling in for their meetings and giving lots of great input to Ryan. So I think it'll be a good thing, and just another addition with the industrial maintenance and the carpentry program for the kids, and in addition to the nail tech program that they're offering as well. So I think it's exciting. Kids have lots of options now, so that's good. And as far as community development, as Lana mentioned, we're working on the certified sites marketing, so getting with Cottrell on some drawings on that, and then putting together some actual marketing packets for that. And then also Haskell County may have some potential contract services that they need marketing help with, so looking through that and what we can do to help them. So that's it, if you guys have questions.
Everything still Zoom meetings with all of your entities?
For the most part. I think until we get some more vaccinations under our belts, then we'll see about going more in person, but yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness for Zoom, because it has really enabled a lot of meetings and face-to-face time that was not available before.
For sure.
And your little creature sitting here on the front of the desk seems to make a really, really big difference. So,
It does. It's nice.
R2D2 there?
Yes.
yeah, pretty much. I tell you, it's really a pleasure to be able to dial you up on the computer and be part of this face-to-face meeting time, and not have to leave the comfort of your own chair at home.
Yeah.
So it's good. I appreciate you guys doing this, and it is a real major tool. So use it all you can, because I think it's really, really good for it. So any other questions for Nicole? All right, hearing none, we will move forward with Mr. Cottrell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As Lana kind of indicated, it's a little bit of a busy month. This Project Darwin that we're working on right now is, that involves a lot of moving parts. So that's certainly a little bit out of the ordinary response that we'll be submitting, but I think we have a good package put together, and we'll make Garden City proud, Finney County. As Lana mentioned, we're working on a couple of certified sites and thinking next generation industrial park. Where we go is, if some of the other prospects come to fruition and we move current operations to someplace else so we can accommodate the new folks. So lots of thought process going on. Had a brief meeting on the empirical rail grant through KDOT yesterday, and that'll be something we'll be working on, help them get rolling on getting that $3 million from the state in the next few weeks. On the commercial side, working on a couple of different layouts in Project Glendale, which is the commercial to support phase 2, or help support phase 2 and phase 1 of the Starbond project, and visiting with our retail marketer. And worked up a little site plan for a drive-through commercial project. On the residential side, Lana mentioned the 40-acre multifamily. They're getting close to submitting their first phase applications for their federal funding. That'll be about 86 units, predominantly fourplexes, a few ADA duplexes. So Lost River, Planning Commission last week approved the preliminary plat for the whole 67 acres as well as the final plat for the 37 lots in the first phase immediately north of Pioneer.
So you said the final phase of the first phase, is that what you said?
The final plat
Final plat of the
of
first phase?
phase 1.
All right, gotcha.
Okay. And the City Commission last week approved the rezoning for those 37 lots. So in the next week or so, we'll start getting all the stuff ready to negotiate the developers agreement and the RHID prospectus or whatever. Get that ready to roll through the City Commission in April. Engineering has been submitted for first phase infrastructure, and that's hopefully we'll get review comments back this week, so we can get as ready to put that out to bid as soon as developers comfortable with timing of everything else. Childcare worked on with the architect on the East Garden Village project, which is kind of standstill right now. Met with the building owner and architect on the former community daycare on North 8th. That looks fairly promising as well. And earlier this week, Shannon and I met with some folks at the Presbyterian Church about some kind of form of childcare in their facility, and they've got a couple of rooms that might do good for an after-school type program, but don't really look like it'd be a profitable type daycare operation, childcare operations. Any questions?
Steve, on a project like Lost River and I guess the other one, the 40 acres, when you work with them to say, okay, here is something we could do on that in terms of a layout or whatever else like that, that's basically creating an ideology or a philosophy or whatever else would go in there. How far do we go on, quote unquote, our dollar, loaning them ideas? And then you were talking about the engineering and stuff is ready to go on phase 1. That's all third-party professional engineering owner funded work, right? We don't have to go that far with them. Obviously, your expertise and everything else guiding them would be awesome, but we're not physically doing that kind of stuff for them on our budget, are we?
No.
Good.
I'm doing that for them on a separate contract.
Okay, fantastic. I think the work that you're doing give us the great opportunities of opening doors, and it's just phenomenal, but there's gotta be a point where we say, okay, now it's yours.
Yeah.
And whatever you create on the other side is fantastic, but I was just curious how far that went. Because I think your gift of vision is fantastic, and we're really lucky to have that.
Other than the fact I've got a cataract building. Clifford will get to make
He can handle it. He can handle it.
Take care of you in a hurry. Okay, thanks, Steve. Shannon.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Shannon.
Good morning, Shannon.
I'll be quick, you'll hear from me later. First, couple things about the, some of the projects we've been working on. I think I talked about some of this last meeting, did the CIP analysis for the city, Garden City, did the water analysis, so if you're in the city, you'll be getting your water bill with how you did with water usage over the last year. So good luck to everybody. We were awarded, we submitted the project for the Groundwater Management District, which is the kind of like the city report, but for well users in, specifically this is just in Finney County with the plans to expand it to our groundwater management district whole area. That was awarded, so we'll start that project, and that's gonna be working with City Garden City and with us and those partners there. That'll be starting in June or July. We'll start looking at that data. And then also worked with Stanton County on a feasibility study about looking about expanding their fairgrounds, specifically with increasing 4-H and FFA usage. And actually going through the data, it's really interesting that there's a pretty big impact of 4-H for local economies, especially in this case where they're trying to make there be more places for the kids to do animal projects. And some of those animal projects, if we're talking about a cow or a horse animal project, that's a $3,000 to $5,000 project. And if you can get 10, 15 kids to do that, that starts to make an impact in your community. So that's interesting, and just got a final write-up there. Social media, things before, like we've seen, Greater Garden City, we had 2,300 visits total. Top stories is a spring clean that's coming up. Everybody's favorite Forge and Elkhart made it to number 2 again. USD 457, Celebrate Read Across America. Public School Foundation awards mini grants, and a hospitality program at the high school named one of the elite 50 in the nation. I will say it was interesting, number 6 story, I only report the top 5 here, but the number 6 story was actually our first announcement from like when Greater Garden City just started about phase 1 Star Bomb project, with there being in that initial drawing an ice rink and stuff like that. That actually got to be the number 6 story from Greater Garden City this month. And I believe it's probably because of the Facebook post about possibly a roller skating rink. So I'm guessing people are going into Google searching skating rink Garden City or something like that, and it's pointing to that old story. Facebook is having their issues again. If you look at the data, we have more, for Garden City Journal, we have more post people reached than views. And if you know how that's possible, there's no way to have more people reached than people views, because there at least should be a 1-to-1, but they're saying it. So something is, again, wrong. And I talked about this before when they had an update. Something is up there. But they report that we had 5,300 post views, almost 6,000 people reached. So don't look into this too much to see what's going on. But we have some of the top stories there. Captain Michael Schaff retirement from the sheriff's is the top story there. Beef Empire Days returning is also a big one. And then Greater Garden City had 5,656 post views, which seems more like the right number. That seems right on line with what we normally see. So anything else? I'll try to save my breath for.
I would just mention, Shannon, that
Yeah.
I think that people of the city need to recognize and be grateful. You know, we've heard after our extended winter snap last month about, you know, some of these pretty scary and real outlandish utility bills and one thing and another. I think that our city staff and commission should be commended on their work and efforts to keep our utilities, Garden City, Finney County, affordable. I kept looking, you know, for my utility bill, auto debit out of my bank account to fold me up and break me before I got a chance to say, whoa, you know. But I really appreciate the efforts that city management, city staff, and city commission have gone to keep those utility bills in a really affordable space. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. And the work across the whole city and county, but also I should point out Black Hills as well. I got my bill the other day. It was actually lower. Very
much so,
than the month before. So that either
Conserved.
What's that?
You conserve.
I was gonna say that kind of makes me wonder how much we're needlessly spending our natural gas when if we take a couple of steps to lower the degrees, make sure the kids are conscientious. So yeah, but like I said, the efforts all around in all the utilities, I think, and then not just our local ones or our regional ones.
True, and I should have mentioned Black Hills in that too, because my gas bill also was really surprising.
But
I was
thank you.
looking for a little harder hit than that, but not to say now that you can go back and do that, but, you know.
I'll go back and work on that.
Okay.
But I'm glad you let me have the opportunity to address it
I lead into that.
and do a little bit of sucking up there.
Okay, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Shannon or anything? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. In new business, none, all right. We'll move forward with annual meeting date, location.
I talked with the college, and they are happy to host the annual meeting like they normally do. Just a few requirements as of right now. Everyone will be required to wear a mask that's in person, and we need to keep it to 50 or less to do that, which for us, that probably won't be an issue. We can do a banquet setting like we've done in the past. However, our normal meeting date, which would be the 28th for next month, is not available for the endowment room. The dates that they do have available that are close around there are April 21st, which is the Wednesday before that. April 26th is the Monday. April 30th is the Friday following that, or May 5th, which probably won't do any good to push it to another month, but that's what she had available.
Well, I think since this is more or less a special meeting, not necessarily on our regular schedule where we've been able to have it before, but I would not see any problem. Talk to the rest of the board about this, but moving it to an alternate date, whether we move it up a week or up 2 days or, you know, whatever works to have it. You know, the college has always been a very good location and a really good fit for this, and they've taken really good care of us in the past, and I'm sure they would again this year. So whatever the board's thoughts are on this, your scheduling or whatever.
I would say the
Does staff have
26th.
recommendations?
Yeah, the
Okay.
26th is an off week. The week of the 26th, we don't have city commission or county commission, which is typically much easier for us to
Yeah.
get our partners in the
True.
room.
So that Monday, is that what you're saying?
The Monday would be the best. I,
6th.
Or 26th on a Monday?
yes. Unfortunately, the 30th is the Friday of that week, but I'll be at Leadership Kansas in Northeast Kansas. So unless you want to go on without me, we kind of want to shoot
I don't think
Monday.
I don't think it'd be much of an annual meeting if our
Partners are not there.
yeah, if our CEO leaves town. I think that would be a little. You wonder about what's
Monday
happening.
sounds really good.
Monday
Uh,
works.
April 26th, work for everybody?
Great. We'll get everything put
Okay,
together
and
then.
we'll be at the college in the endowment room, works for Dr. Clifford. It's not a commission meeting, so we can get that invitation to the city and the county and the college, all of our partners for that, so anything else as far as annual meeting dates or discussion? Okay.
How about regularly board meetings? I know Lana sent out a note with regards to Kansas leadership and asked that we look at our schedule for
Yeah,
rescheduling that. I think that's something that we probably ought to discuss to.
there were, yeah, she's got, excuse me, three meetings that conflict with our regular board meetings. Her and I visited somewhat about that, and I kind of indicated that I didn't see a problem maybe rescheduling our board meetings to fit those 3 meetings that she's got for Kansas leadership. So I don't remember exactly which ones they were.
The first one is June, and as Bob had mentioned, if we go just one day, move up one day, it allows us to still have financials completed from the prior month. So if we can make that work, and if it works for the city's schedule to allow us to be in here on the Tuesday morning before that, we can certainly check on that. Again,
Okay.
check to make sure the dates are available. If they're not, we do have other options, and we can certainly look to the county and see if their building would be available. But if that's agreeable to you all, we'll go ahead and see what the schedule will allow and where we would have to meet to move those up one day.
Okay. Yeah, because with the county having their video Facebook time now,
Yeah, we'll use our
it
own.
allows us to be, we could meet in the county facility now and still have
and
still have that Facebook presence, so.
Yeah, correct.
Those meetings are always there, so.
Yep.
Thoughts, move them, those 3 meetings to Tuesday instead of Wednesday?
Good with that?
Get them on the calendar
Thank
now
you all
and see
for
if we
working with
can.
me on that. I appreciate it.
Okay, if, Nicole, if you'd like to go ahead and see what we can do and move them up one day in front of our regular meetings, so, yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Phil. Okay, is there anything else that needs to come before this group at this time?
I think just a mention that we're going to have our annual budget preparation deal next week. If anybody has any input that we're missing in our budgets now that you would like to have input, we're gonna meet next Wednesday, and just let us know, and we'll get it cranked in.
That's like from 10 to 11, 11:30.
And then that
whatever
budget will
it
come back
takes,
to the
so-
board at the next meeting, so
Right.
that everybody knows exactly what we did.
It may actually come back to the board prior to that. The county has requested that we submit our budget information in April.
Okay.
So if they schedule us, I let her know when our board meeting was and such, but if they require it ahead of that, we may be sending out an email for the board's review and input before we make the
We can-
presentation to the
Yeah,
county.
if that comes to pass and we have to do that, why, we can send that out, email, and
Yes.
get a vote on that budget, so,
Yes, we can.
very good. Okay, is there anything else that needs to come up? We need about a 30-minute executive session to discuss non-elected personnel and some client confidentiality stuff. Lana, do you want anybody in the executive session?
I would like to invite Shannon in for the client confidentiality portion.
Okay. Dr.
See you, Bill.
Clifford, thank you
Thanks.
for coming.
Bill.
We appreciate that. We'll see you at the county commission meeting.
See you, Steve, real soon. A couple years.
Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing further, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn this meeting and re-adjourn in executive session for a 30-minute session. And we'll have Shannon stay for that. And Larry moves. We got a second. We got a second from David. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion carried.